I posed for private pictures. My ex swore he'd keep secret, blocked him everywhere thinking that was enough. Then my husband got an anonymous email with every photo attached and a note saying ask your wife about last Tuesday. He printed them out and left them on the kitchen table. I'm 29, been married for 2 years. My ex is 31 and we broke up 4 years ago after dating for about 8 months. It wasn't a bad breakup, just kind of fizzled out. But before we split, he'd been really into photography and convinced me to do some artistic photos. I was 25, stupid, and thought I was in love. The pictures started innocent but ended up pretty explicit. He promised they were just for him, that he'd never show anyone, and like an idiot I believed him. When we broke up I asked him to delete everything. He said he did. I blocked him on everything and moved on with my life. Met my husband a year later, fell hard, got married. I never told my husband about those pictures because honestly I convinced myself they didn't exist anymore. Last Tuesday I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, been thinking about you. Coffee sometime? I knew immediately it was my ex. Don't ask me how, I just did. I didn't respond, blocked the number, and figured that was that. Then yesterday my husband came home early from work. He didn't say anything, just walked past me into the kitchen. I followed him and there were printed photos spread across the entire kitchen table. Every single picture I'd ever taken with my ex. Full color, high resolution, probably 20 photos total. I actually thought I was going to throw up. My husband was just standing there with his arms crossed. His face was completely blank, which somehow made it worse. He said I got an email this morning. Anonymous sender. Every single one of these attached with a message that said ask your wife about last Tuesday. I tried to explain. Told him these were from years before we even met, that I'd blocked my ex everywhere, that I had no idea he still had them. My husband cut me off and said last Tuesday. What happened last Tuesday? I showed him the blocked number, the single text message. He looked at it for maybe 5 seconds and said you could have told me about this years ago. Instead I had to find out when some psycho decided to blow up our marriage. I kept trying to talk but he wouldn't listen. He said he'd already spoken to a lawyer, that the papers would be ready by Friday, and that he'd be staying at his brother's place until I could move out. I told him that was insane, that I hadn't done anything wrong, that this was revenge from a crazy ex. He said it didn't matter because I'd lied by omission for our entire relationship. He packed a bag and left. That was 16 hours ago and he won't answer my calls. I'm sitting here surrounded by printed photos of myself from 4 years ago wondering how my marriage just ended because I was too embarrassed to mention some stupid pictures I took when I was basically a kid. My ex hasn't responded to any of my messages asking why he'd do this. I reported him to the police for harassment but they said unless he keeps contacting me there's nothing they can do. My sister says I should have been honest with my husband from the start. That if I'd told him when we got serious this never would have blindsided him like this. But how was I supposed to know my ex was keeping everything this whole time, just waiting to destroy my life? I don't even know what I'm asking. I guess, was I wrong for not telling my husband about those pictures before we got married? So my husband still won't talk to me but his family sure as hell will. His mom showed up at my door this morning at 7 a.m. I didn't even know she had a key to our place but apparently my husband gave her 1 month ago. She let herself in while I was still in bed and I woke up to her standing in my bedroom doorway holding one of the printed photos. She didn't yell. That's what made it so much worse. She just stood there with this look of complete disgust and said my son deserves better than a woman who takes pictures like this. I tried to explain that these were from before I even knew her son existed. She cut me off and said she didn't care when they were taken, that the fact I hid them proved I knew they were shameful. Then she told me I had 2 weeks to find somewhere else to live because her son would be moving back in and he shouldn't have to be the one displaced from his own home. I told her she had no right to kick me out of my own apartment. She said actually she does because her son's name is the only one on the lease. I'd moved into his place when we got engaged and never thought to add myself. Legally I'm just a guest who's overstayed my welcome. She left the photo on my nightstand and walked out. I spent the next 3 hours ugly crying on the bathroom floor. Then I called my ex. I don't know what I expected, maybe for him to feel guilty or apologize or explain why he'd do something so cruel. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried 6 more times. Nothing. So I drove to his apartment. I know where he lives because we have mutual friends and I'd heard through them that he never moved after we broke up. I banged on his door for 10 minutes before his neighbor came out and told me to keep it down or she'd call the cops. He wasn't home. Or he was hiding. Either way I left. My sister called me while I was driving back. She talked to my husband. Apparently he told his entire family what happened and now they're all messaging her asking if I cheated on him. She was pissed at me for putting her in that position. Said I should have been honest from the start and now she has to defend me to people who think I'm a liar. I asked her if she actually was defending me. She got quiet and then said I don't know what you want me to say. You did lie. We haven't spoken since. When I got home there was an envelope taped to my door. Inside was a handwritten note on lined paper torn from a spiral notebook. The handwriting was my ex's, I recognized it immediately. You blocked me, so I had to get creative. You look good in those pictures. Thought your husband should know what he married. Maybe next time don't ghost people who have leverage. I took the note to the police station. The officer I spoke to looked it over and said it wasn't technically a threat. I asked what it would take to be considered a threat, and he said unless my ex explicitly stated he intended to harm me, there was nothing they could do. He suggested I document everything and come back if the harassment continued. I asked about the photos, about revenge porn laws. He said those typically only apply if the images are posted publicly online. Since my ex sent them privately to one person, it falls into a gray area. He took my statement and said they'd look into it, but I shouldn't expect much. That was yesterday. This morning I woke up to 17 missed calls from my mom. When I called her back, she was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Apparently someone, and we both know who, had sent the photos to her too. All of them. With a message that said your daughter wanted you to see her work. My mom is 63 years old and deeply religious. The idea of her seeing those pictures makes me want to die. She kept asking me why I would do something like that, why I would let someone photograph me that way. I tried to explain, but she just kept crying and saying she didn't raise me to behave like that. She hung up on me. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I've lost 6 pounds. Every time my phone buzzes, I have a panic attack thinking it's going to be someone else who got the photos. My husband's best friend. My boss. My coworkers. I don't know what my ex wants. He already destroyed my marriage, humiliated me in front of my family, made the police think I'm wasting their time. What else is there? I tried calling my husband one more time last night. He answered on the 4th ring. I could hear people talking in the background, probably his brother's family. He said what, and I just started begging. Told him I loved him, that I'd do anything to fix this, that we could go to counseling or I could take a lie detector test or whatever he needed to believe me. He said I believe he didn't cheat. But I don't believe you anymore. There's a difference. Then he hung up. I'm supposed to be out of the apartment in 12 days. I don't have anywhere to go. My sister isn't returning my calls. My mom won't talk to me. My friends are all mutual friends with my husband, and I'm pretty sure they've chosen sides. I keep thinking about that text my ex sent. Coffee sometime? Like this was all just a game to him. Like blowing up my entire life was worth it because I didn't respond to one message. The worst part is I can't even be angry. I'm too tired. Too scared. I just keep waiting for the next person to contact me saying they got an email. Keep checking my work email wondering if HR is going to call me in because someone forwarded them the photos. My ex won. He wanted to ruin me and he did. And there's apparently nothing anyone can do about it. My ex's girlfriend found out what he did and she's the reason I'm not completely destroyed right now. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. Turns out they've been together for almost a year and she had no idea about the photos or what he'd done to me. She showed up at my apartment 3 days ago. I almost didn't answer because I thought it might be my husband's mom coming back to harass me again. She was maybe 24, looked like she'd been crying for hours. She said, I need to know if you're the one from the photos. I just stood there. She said he left his laptop open. I saw the email he sent to your husband. I saw everything. I let her in because what else was I supposed to do? We sat on my couch, this complete stranger and me, and she told me she'd confronted him about it. He apparently tried to play it off like I'd been stalking him, that he sent the photos to my husband as proof that his crazy ex wouldn't leave him alone. She said she might have believed him, except she found the text he sent me asking for coffee. Found all the drafts of the anonymous email he'd sent my husband. He'd saved everything like trophies. She broke up with him on the spot. Packed her stuff and left while he was at work. But before she did, she copied every single file off his laptop. Every photo, every draft email, every text conversation where he talked about teaching me a lesson for blocking him. She handed me a flash drive. I asked her why she was helping me. She said because what he did was disgusting and she couldn't be with someone capable of that. Then she said something that made me want to cry all over again. He told me you were crazy. But I looked you up online and you seem normal. It scared me how easy it was for him to lie. After she left, I looked at everything on the flash drive. There were screenshots of conversations with his friends where he bragged about ruining my marriage. Messages where he talked about waiting for the right moment to destroy my life. He'd been planning this for months, just waiting for an excuse. I took everything to the police station. Different officer this time, woman in her 40s who actually listened. She looked through the files and said this changed things. The premeditation, the evidence of harassment, the fact he distributed intimate images with intent to harm. She said they could potentially press charges. I filed a formal report. She said it would take time but they'd investigate. I also called a lawyer. Used money I didn't have to pay for a consultation. She said I might have a civil case for emotional distress and invasion of privacy. That it would be expensive and hard to prove damages, but the evidence from his laptop helped. She's drawing up a cease and desist letter to send him. Then I did something probably stupid. I sent everything to my husband. I wrote him an email with all the screenshots attached. Showed him the messages where my ex planned the whole thing. Showed him proof that the last Tuesday text was the first contact I'd had with my ex in 4 years. Showed him I was telling the truth about everything. He called me 2 hours later. His voice sounded different. Tired. He said, "I got your email." I didn't say anything because I was afraid if I started talking I'd start begging again. He said, "I believe you. I believe he set this up. But I meant what I said before. You should have told me about those photos when we got serious. You had years to tell me and you didn't." I told him I was scared. That I was ashamed. That I thought if I never mentioned it then it would be like it never happened. He said that's not how marriage works. You don't get to decide what I should or shouldn't know about your past. I asked him if we could talk in person. He said not yet. That he needed more time. But he said he talked to his mom about the apartment situation, that he wouldn't make me leave in 12 days. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was something. My mom called me yesterday. First time since she hung up on me. She said my ex's girlfriend had contacted her on social media, explained everything, sent her proof that I'd been set up. My mom apologized. Said she should have listened to me, should have trusted that I wouldn't do something to hurt my marriage on purpose. She asked if I wanted to come stay with her while I figured things out. I said yes. My sister texted me this morning. Just "I'm sorry." Nothing else. I haven't responded yet. The detective called this afternoon. Said they'd contacted my ex for questioning. He apparently lawyered up immediately, which she said was basically an admission of guilt. She said it would take weeks or months, but they were building a case. I keep thinking about his girlfriend, how she could have just walked away and never told me any of this. How she risked her ex coming after her too just to help a stranger. I sent her a message thanking her. She said no woman deserves what he did to you. My husband texted me late tonight. I'm still angry. But I'm glad you're safe. I know we're probably still getting divorced. I know even with all this evidence some people will always think I was hiding something worse. I know my ex might not face any real consequences even with everything his girlfriend found. But for the first time in 2 weeks I don't feel completely hopeless. I'm packing my stuff to move to my mom's tomorrow. Starting therapy next week. Meeting with a lawyer again on Friday. I don't know what happens next with my marriage or the legal case or anything else. My ex wanted to ruin my life and he almost did. But at least now people know the truth. At least now I have proof I'm not crazy. I don't know if that's enough, but it's more than I had before. My ex posted the photos online and I found out because my coworkers saw them before I did. I've been staying at my mom's for a week. Started therapy. Was actually starting to feel like maybe I could survive this. Then yesterday I got a call from my boss asking me to come to the office for an urgent meeting. I knew immediately something was wrong. My boss is usually pretty casual, we text more than we call. But her voice on the phone was stiff and formal and she wouldn't tell me what it was about. I drove to the office thinking maybe it was about my performance. I've been a mess lately, calling out sick, distracted during meetings. I thought maybe they were letting me go. It was so much worse than that. My boss had HR in the room with her. They sat me down and my boss pulled up a website on her laptop. I recognized my own face before I could process what I was looking at. It was some kind of amateur porn site and every single photo was there. All 20 of them. Posted 2 days ago under the title "Cheating Wife Gets Exposed" with a detailed story about how I'd been having an affair and my husband caught me. The story was completely fake. Said I'd been sleeping with my ex for months while married. Said my husband hired a private investigator and got proof. Made me sound like some kind of serial cheater. And underneath were all the photos with my face fully visible. I thought I was going to throw up right there in the conference room. My boss said a client had emailed her the link. Said he recognized me and thought she should know her employee was representing the company inappropriately. She said HR had been getting calls all morning from other clients who'd seen it. Someone had apparently sent the link to half our contact list. I tried to explain. Showed them the police report on my phone. Told them about my ex, about how this was revenge because I rejected him. My boss listened, but I could see it on her face. The damage was done. HR said they weren't firing me, but they were putting me on administrative leave pending an investigation. Said they needed to protect the company's reputation. That clients were threatening to pull contracts because they didn't want to work with me. I'm not getting paid during the leave. I have no idea how long it will last. They said they'd be in touch. I called the detective as soon as I left the building. She said she'd seen the posts, that they were gathering evidence. But she also said taking down content from these sites is nearly impossible. They're hosted overseas, no real moderation, and even if we get them removed they'll just pop up somewhere else. She said my ex had escalated and that made him more likely to make a mistake, but it also made him more dangerous. I called my lawyer next. She said this definitely strengthened our civil case, but it would take months to see any results. That even if we won he might not have any money to pay damages. She asked if I had anyone who could stay with me, said I shouldn't be alone right now. Then I called my husband. He answered on the first ring. I didn't even say hello, just "Did you see them?" He said yes. I asked him if his family saw. If his friends saw. He said probably. That his coworker had sent him the link this morning asking if it was really me. I started crying. Not the quiet kind, the kind where you can't breathe and your whole body shakes. He didn't say anything for a long time and then he said, "I'm coming to get you." He showed up at my mom's house an hour later. I hadn't seen him in person since the day he walked out. He looked terrible. Like he hadn't been sleeping. My mom let him in and then left us alone in the living room. We didn't talk at first. He just sat next to me on the couch and I cried into his shoulder like I used to when I had bad days at work. He smelled the same. Felt the same. Finally he said, "I'm so sorry this is happening to you." I told him about work. About the clients. About how my face is out there forever now attached to lies I can't control. He said, "We'll figure it out." I asked him what we meant. If he was still divorcing me. He said, "I don't know. I'm still angry about the lying. But this," he gestured at my phone sitting on the coffee table, "this isn't your fault. And I can't watch you go through it alone." It wasn't forgiveness. Wasn't even close to fixing things. But it was something. He stayed for 3 hours. My mom made dinner and he ate with us like we were a normal family having a normal evening. He told me he talked to a cybersecurity guy at his company who might be able to help track down where the posts were coming from. That he'd pay for it if I couldn't afford it. Before he left he said, "I'm not promising anything. But I'm not abandoning you either." After he was gone my mom said she thought we might still have a chance. I told her I didn't know if I wanted a chance anymore. That I loved him but I didn't know if I could forgive him for believing the worst of me so easily. She said he was hurt. People do stupid things when they're hurt. I wanted to scream that I was hurt too. That I'd been humiliated and violated and destroyed and he'd made it worse by walking away. But I was too tired. This morning my ex's girlfriend texted me. Said she'd seen the posts. Said my ex had been bragging about it to his friends, that one of them told her because he thought what my ex was doing was going too far. She said she'd testify if it came to that. That she had more evidence if I needed it. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. He told his friend he's not done yet. That you haven't suffered enough. I forwarded the message to the detective immediately. She called me back within 10 minutes and said they were going to try to bring him in for questioning today. That the public posting changed things legally. I'm sitting in my childhood bedroom right now writing this at 2 a.m. because I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes I see those photos. See my face attached to lies I can't erase. My phone keeps buzzing with messages from people I haven't talked to in years asking if it's really me in the pictures. Some of them are concerned. Most are just nosy. A few are cruel. The detective said she'd call me tomorrow after they talked to my ex. My lawyer said we should discuss filing for an emergency protective order. My husband texted an hour ago saying he couldn't sleep either. I don't know what happens next but I'm terrified to find out. My ex was arrested 4 days ago and I watched the whole thing happen from my car. The detective called me that morning and said they had enough evidence to bring charges. Distribution of intimate images without consent, cyberstalking, harassment. She said they were picking him up at his apartment and asked if I wanted to be there when it happened. Not inside, just nearby. She said sometimes it helps victims to see that the system is actually working. I said yes before I could talk myself out of it. I parked half a block away. Watched 2 police cars pull up to his building. Watched officers walk inside. 15 minutes later they walked him out in handcuffs. He was wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt, hadn't shaved in days. He looked smaller than I remembered. He saw me sitting in my car. Made direct eye contact. I thought I'd feel scared or angry or something. Instead I just felt tired. They put him in the back of the patrol car and drove away. The detective came over to my window and said, "You okay?" I told her I didn't know. She said that was a normal response. The charges are serious enough that his bail was set high. He's been in county jail since then. His lawyer tried to argue he wasn't a flight risk but the judge saw all the evidence of escalation and denied the request for lower bail. His parents apparently can't afford it so he's staying locked up until trial. My lawyer says the criminal case strengthens our civil suit significantly. That we're looking at actual damages now with proof of lost income and emotional distress. She thinks we could win but warns me not to expect a big payout. He doesn't have much money and you can't squeeze blood from a stone. I don't even care about the money anymore. I just want it to be over. Work called 3 days ago. HR said they'd completed their investigation and determined I hadn't violated any company policies. They're taking me off administrative leave effective immediately. My boss said several clients had actually reached out in support once they understood what really happened. That the ones who pulled contracts weren't worth keeping anyway. I go back on Monday. I'm terrified. The website posts are still up. My lawyer says we're working on it but these things take time. In the meantime I've had to lock down all my social media and change my phone number twice because people keep finding ways to contact me. Some are supportive. Most are just curious. A few are cruel in ways that make me understand why people delete themselves from the internet entirely. My husband and I have been talking. Really talking, not just texting or quick phone calls. He came over to my mom's house yesterday and we sat in her backyard for 3 hours just going through everything. He apologized for walking away so quickly. Said he panicked when he saw those photos and couldn't think straight. That he should have listened to me instead of assuming the worst. I apologized for not telling him about the photos earlier. Told him I was ashamed and scared and thought if I never mentioned them they'd stop existing. That I was wrong to keep something like that from him. He asked if I wanted to try again. Go to couples counseling, rebuild trust, see if we could fix what broke. I told him I didn't know. That I loved him but I didn't know if I could forget how fast he gave up on me. How his family treated me. How alone I felt when I needed him most. He said he understood. That he'd wait as long as I needed to decide. We're not divorced yet. We're not together either. We're just existing in this weird in-between space while I figure out what I actually want. My mom says I should forgive him. That everyone makes mistakes and he's trying to make it right. My sister, who finally called me back last week, says I should leave him. That if he didn't believe me the first time he doesn't deserve a second chance. I don't know who's right. My ex's girlfriend, the one who gave me all the evidence, sent me a message yesterday. She said she'd been called to testify at the trial. That she was nervous but wanted to help. I told her she already helped more than she'll ever know. She said she hopes I find peace after this is all over. I hope so too. Therapy has been helping. My therapist says I'm experiencing trauma responses and that it's normal for me to feel untethered right now. That my sense of safety and trust was violated and it will take time to rebuild. She says I need to be patient with myself. I'm trying. The trial is set for 8 weeks from now. The prosecutor says it's a strong case but you never know with juries. That I should prepare myself for any outcome. My lawyer says even if he's acquitted criminally we can still pursue the civil case. I've started thinking about what happens after. Whether I stay in this city or move somewhere new. Whether I try to salvage my marriage or start over alone. Whether I can ever take a photo of myself again without feeling sick. My ex wanted to destroy me. He wanted to take everything I built and burn it down because I rejected him. And he almost succeeded. He cost me my job temporarily, my marriage maybe permanently, my privacy definitely forever. He made me afraid to exist online. Made me question every relationship I have. But I'm still here. I'm still standing. And he's the one in a jail cell waiting to face consequences for what he did. The detective says cases like this matter. That every conviction makes it easier to prosecute the next one. That I'm helping other women by refusing to let him get away with it. I don't feel like I'm helping anyone. I feel like I'm drowning in legal fees and therapy bills and shame that follows me everywhere. But I also feel angry. Finally, genuinely angry. Not at myself anymore. At him. For thinking he had the right to punish me. For believing my life was his to destroy. For taking something intimate and weaponizing it because his ego couldn't handle rejection. That anger is keeping me going right now. I don't know how this ends. Maybe he goes to prison. Maybe he gets probation and a fine. Maybe the jury decides what he did wasn't that bad and he walks away. Maybe my husband and I figure out how to trust each other again. Maybe we don't. What I do know is that I'm not the person I was 2 months ago. That version of me thought she could erase her past by ignoring it. Thought keeping secrets was the same as staying safe. Thought the worst thing that could happen was people finding out about those photos. Now I know there are worse things. Like losing yourself. Like letting someone else's cruelty define your worth. Like giving up. I'm not giving up. My ex is in jail. The trial is coming. My life is still a mess. But I'm not giving up. And maybe that's enough for now.